U of A basketball coach Sean Miller a tainted candidate, and that's why he didn't get offered the job at his alma mater, Pitt. Did the March for Our Lives movement change the conversation around gun control? And why Congresswoman Martha McSally may be the bigger joke than her suggestion to build a border wall between Arizona and California? These stories and more next on the 520. Welcome to the 520. I'm Steve Nunez.
I'm Marty Mata the Fourth. Thanks for joining us.
All right, let's arm wrestle. See who goes first. Oh, I've got you again, baby. All right, I'm up first.
We'll do it again
later. All
later.
right, well, if Sean Miller was not a candidate for the job at Pitt, is that a sign even his alma mater thinks he's tainted goods? Well, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette reported that Miller was, quote, interested in the job. Miller said in a statement, quote, I am not a candidate for the University of Pittsburgh men's basketball head coaching vacancy. I wish them well in their search for a new coach, end quote. But Miller never denied that he may have been seeking or interested in trying to get the job at Pitt. Never denied those reports.
To him, the University of Arizona, it's a capsizing ship. At any minute, it's going to be completely underwater. He's trying to get as far away as possible, trying to make it somebody else's problem. He thinks he's a top 25 coach. Apparently, the rest of the NCAA doesn't think so.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I'll go back to exactly what we've been talking about on the 520 when I called for Miller to get fired. I said he was not loyal to the University of Arizona. And the fact that he may have gone out to try and get the job at Pitt, and reports are stating that he met with Pitt's athletic director, just shows exactly and proves my point. He is not loyal to the University of Arizona, and he's basically staying at the University of Arizona by default.
By process of elimination.
Because he can't get a job
But
anywhere
it also
else.
has something to deal with his lack of performance. He has everything lined up for him when he takes a job in Tucson, and all of a sudden he's out in the first round with 2 to 3 potential first rounders.
Well, exactly. And when you have 4 potential NBA draft picks in your starting 5 lineup and you lose to Buffalo, I mean, that doesn't speak well for Sean Miller. And I think other schools are looking at this and saying, wait, he has zero 2018 recruits. And 6 players returning next year.
And he's trying to make it somebody else's problem. The NCAA doesn't want that to be their problem.
Well, no other school wants that to be their problem because the sanctions, which could be coming down based on what happens when the trial starts in October for Christian Dawkins, who is the agent's runner, who supposedly had this wiretap conversation with Miller. That starts in October. So a lot more shoes are about to drop, and I think other schools are they're afraid. If his own alma mater, where he started at Pittsburgh,
where his grandma
would not
still
hire
lives.
him, that says a lot.
It does, it does. But who has the edge? We have bold predictions on the Final Four. Which team will take it all? Let's take a look here at my picks, hoping it's not as bad as last time. I got Michigan and Kansas going on to the big dance. Kansas coming on with it all.
Oh, look at my Final Four, baby. Yeah, let's switch that. We got Michigan playing Sister Jean, Loyola, and Villanova, Kansas. Of course, I have Loyola and Villanova in the finals. Guess who I have to win? Sister Jean. You gotta love Sister Jean. 98 years old. Let me just say this really quick. Every Cinderella has a fairy godmother. Sister Jean is a fairy godmother. In fact, I love her so much, I'm going to send my scarf is alive and well again. I'm going to send my scarf to Sister Jean so she can christen it, give it some...
So she can say, who gave me this dusty old scarf? Throw it away.
She's going to bless my scarf, and it's going to be back next year. And we'll see you in the Final Four. That's what I'm talking about.
Can I even fist bump you? It smells from here. You guys could see the cartoonness from it.
Hey, look, my scarf is going to be like Sister Jean. All right, we're going to start selling, scarves, replicas, and all that, like scarf bobbleheads and everything. You know, she's making money off of that, and she plans to give that money back to the school.
At the end of the day,
Sister Jean.
I don't Not love Sister Jean. I just got to be a realist. Can't think they can beat the Big Blue.
Fairy godmother, baby.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Come on, about some more Big Blue. Should Sean Miller hire Pima Community College basketball coach Brian Peabody to fill one of his vacant assistant coaching positions? Pima finished runner-up to Triton College 89-85 in a back-and-forth battle decided in the last minutes. It's the first back-to-back trip to the tournament for the Aztecs.
What is taking Miller so long to reach out and at least interview Peabody? Let's consider his resume for a second, all right? Peabody, more than 500 wins. He's already inducted into the Pima County Sports Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Famer high school coach in these parts or neck of the woods, okay? He's coached 2 state high school basketball teams to state titles. He's produced 100 high school athletes, developed them, and they're all playing college basketball at the junior college level or Division I level. What are you waiting for? Hire the guy.
I think you hit it right on the nose in the last segment. There is no loyalty between Sean Miller and the city of Tucson, Arizona.
Love it.
He does not care what's going on here in southern Arizona. He wants to be a big, giant rock star. He wants to secure these McDonald's recruits and these 5-star recruits. He does not care what's going on here in Tucson.
And I think you hit the nail right on the head. And we talked about this. There is no loyalty. How can Miller, who needs a couple of coaches on his staff because of vacancies, I mean, consider 3 former Wildcats who were on his staff that he just basically ran them out of town. Damon Stoudemire, Joseph Blair, and Reggie Geary. And now there's talk about, you know, bringing in Brandon Roy, who played at Washington. And even, why would you pick him over Mike Bibby? If you're going to bring in a high school coach, bring in Mike Bibby from Phoenix, right? So not hiring Peabody is a huge mistake, and it goes exactly to what we've been talking about on the 520. No loyalty.
No loyalty.
All right, so why isn't Sean Miller, who has 0 recruits for 2018, recruiting Pima players? Think about this for a second. Pima sophomore Isaiah Murphy, a 6'4" guard from Vail Cienega High, hit 9 3-pointers in the Aztec semifinal game when it counted most. Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. And I'll tell you what, as we take a look from him here, I went to high school with this kid. I know him personally. I know his family, his mother. And if anybody's in need of a brand shift at this moment, it's Sean Miller. If Sean Miller needs to shift his brand and refocus his priorities to become the local hero that Tucson thinks he is, he can recruit local talents like Isaiah Murphy, who can fit it all.
How do you not
get Peabody on his staff, everything?
Exactly. And how do you not give a kid who's 6'4", can jump out of the gym, more importantly, hit 9 3-pointers in a game? I don't care at what level. If you can hit 9 3-pointers in a game, you should be considered.
He's an athlete, man. He's an athlete. I agree.
A top recruit.
Of course, of course.
Especially since he's from Tucson. Unbelievable. Wow. All right, so is Arizona's new football coach, Kevin Sumlin, getting rid of Rich Rod's old habits and taking the offense back to the basics? Well, inside Arizona Spring Camp, offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach Noel Mazzone teaching future Heisman candidate Khalil Tate of all quarterbacks footwork and throwing drills. You love to see this right here.
Of course. Let me tell a story real quick to the people at home. Michael Vick, one of the greatest to ever do it under center. I don't care who you are. When Chip Kelly took the job in Philadelphia at the Eagles and Vick was playing for him, there's a story about Vick, you know, he was in practice, he broke out of the pocket and he was running around doing what Vick does, and Chip Kelly goes, "Vick, hold the ball." And he goes, "I am holding the ball. I'm holding the ball right here." And he's like, "No, hold the ball." And he grabs the ball. He's like, "Hold the points. Make sure you're holding the 2 tips and everything like that." And then Vick just goes, "Coach, nobody's ever told me that before."
And this came when in his career?
In his 12th or 13th year in the league. It's an exact reflection. Too many times these coaches get a hold of these kids that are just absolutely talented. They're an absolute prodigy. And they forget that they may have not been taught fundamentals, and that's why they make such immature mistakes down the road.
And I love this because it speaks to one thing: discipline. When you're going back to the fundamentals and back to the basics, you are teaching a player to be disciplined again. And I love to see that Khalil Tate's ego is not so big that he's actually taking part in these drills and learning. And I hope Mazzone can teach him to be like an Aaron Rodgers type quarterback.
Russell Wilson.
Or maybe. Russell Wilson.
He's not going to sling it like
set
that.
the foot, throw on the run. because what that says is Arizona's going to be a run and gun team next year. That offense is going to be explosive, and it's not going to be so predictable as we saw with Arizona losing 4 of the last 5 games last year. It's because they were too predictable. Khalil Tate to the left, Khalil Tate to the right, Khalil Tate up the middle. Maybe he'll throw it. And I think now they're going to just run and gun, baby.
Lots of firepower, lots of firepower. Are the upcoming facility upgrades to the U of A's athletic facilities worth the $66 million? The athletic department has 5 projects underway, including $25 million in renovations to the east side of the Arizona football stadium and the Zona Zoo concourse, a $15 million indoor football practice field, $8 million to upgrade the outfield bleachers and press box at Hillenbrand Softball Stadium, $15 million to expand the pool at Hillenbrand Aquatic Center, and $1.5 million in upgrades at McHale to remodel the locker rooms.
Thank you, students. That's part of that mandatory athletic fee that is being put to work, okay? But let me just say this really quick. That is also an example of Title IX at work. The trickle-down effect of that money from, let's be honest, generated from football and basketball, your top 2 sports, and who's benefiting? Women's sports as well. Softball, swimming,
everything.
You know what? And that is a perfect example of Title IX money being put to work and how the program should work.
Agreed. It's proof is in the pudding.
Yep.
Can the Arizona Diamondbacks field a winning team this year? Do they care about W's, or is it just about selling promotional gimmicks and making each game an experience for the family? Opening day for the D-backs and all 30 Major League teams is Thursday, March 29th.
Look, I was upset when the D-backs let go of J.D. Martinez. Okay, last year he sparked and ignited the team to 2nd place finish in the NL West. Martinez has averaged 35 home runs in each of the last 3 years. And that to me just showed that there's no commitment. Then they let go of a left-handed reliever in Banda, up and coming. You never let go of a left-handed reliever. Seriously, that to me showed me that they really don't have a whole lot of commitment. So the essence of this season is just status quo, and let's bring in the gimmicks.
And that's the thing, is they do have talent. They got one heavy hitter, firepower hitter in Goldschmidt. But the real question is, can they supplement Goldschmidt? Can they get him some base runners so he could tangle in some RBIs? Nobody seems to be worried about their catcher situation either. And we always get caught up in the same dilemma with these Diamondbacks and the dark days on the Wednesday games in June, and we're down to our 5th starter, and we have to wait for the middle reliever to come save us when we're down 4-6 or something crazy like some shootout like that. Now,
with all that I said, I will say this. I still think that the Diamondbacks have a chance to finish in 2nd place in the NL West, right behind the Dodgers. I think Goldschmidt is a stud. He needs to hit more than 40 home runs, though. Greinke needs to win more than 17 games as he did last year. He needs to be a 20-game winner for the Diamondbacks to have a chance at maybe a wild card to make it into the playoffs. But I will say this once again. I think the D-backs are making Chase Field more of an experience for the family,
and they have
they're
to.
not
And they
they're
have
not committed like they used to. The fact that they didn't bring anyone else in when they let go of 2 really good players just speaks to the fact that that's what they're selling and banking on this season.
We'll see.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. All right. Are we surprised? March for Our Lives demonstrators in Phoenix, made up of mostly children and teenagers, were met by gun rights protesters armed with AR-15s. Well, here's one photo captured by ArizonaCentral.com that speaks more than just 1,000 words. Pro-gun supporters gathered at the state capitol to counter-protest thousands of teen marchers.
Let me just first start off by saying what I've repeatedly said in the past. The motive of these protesters, the motive of these children protesting is gun control. It is not gun confiscation.
Agreed.
They're not pushing for everyone to get their guns taken away. We're not going to take the police officers' handguns away. We're not going to take them away from the SWAT team. It's limiting the average American citizen from having what is not necessary for him to have.
What I take from all of this, and it just really angers me because, you know, these protesters going out there, I mean, carrying an AR-15 in front of these kids, like after the tragedy that they've seen, is so disrespectful and so hypocritical. Don't tread on my Second Amendment rights, but I want to shut you up and tread on your First Amendment rights. That to me is such hypocrisy to the most extreme. And I'm really proud of these kids for getting up and exercising the First Amendment right and creating a movement that at least 1 million people across the country marched this past weekend. That's amazing. So much for gun rights activists and counter protesters saying these kids won't march if it was an off day on school. Well, they did. They came out on a Saturday and they represented.
Of course, that's
at least listen to them.
I agree. I agree. Kids, if you're out there listening, fantastic job. We're here at your support at the least.
Yep. Well, all right, let's jump right into a segment we call Do We Care? As you know by now, we're not just a sports show. As we were just talking about politics, we like to sprinkle in a few community issues, break them down, and ask ourselves, do we care? I'll get it started. Tucson Republican Congresswoman Martha McSally, who is now running for Senate, proposed building a border wall between Arizona and California to protect the state from dangerous criminals. McSally brushed off her suggestion as a joke. She was part of a roundtable at the White House discussing sanctuary cities that protect undocumented immigrants. Do we care?
Of course we do. I'm just so downright tired of these Republican politicians running a campaign based off fear. How much can we scare these people into thinking it's a good idea? And it's such a gray area thinking of whether these politicians are actually scared of the non-present MS-13 and the non-safe communities, or if they're just trying to sprinkle in what they can, see what they can get away with.
I think she is just playing into fear-mongering. I think McSally is acting like a sellout. I'm so disappointed in her actions because they're irresponsible. More importantly, her facts are unfounded. There is no evidence from the Department of Homeland Security or local border patrol that MS-13 or dangerous criminals are coming from California to Arizona as a result of California being a sanctuary city.
Of course, I agree. I agree. Thank you,
So it's
Steve.
ridiculous.
Governor Ducey signs a measure extending a sales tax that provides more than $500 million a year for K-12 education for another 2 decades until 2041. The move averts a looming fiscal cliff that threatened more than 10% of the state's school funding. Do we care about this one?
Of course we care, and of course we all want funding for our schools. We rank last in funding for schools. Of course we want teachers to get a pay raise. But let me just say this. This should have been a measure that went before the voters again. This is a bailout. The state lawmakers bailed themselves out because they can't find the money or get creative in balancing the budget. And Doug Ducey, please do not take credit for this. This is about the taxpayers bailing your hiney out, not the other way around. You are not doing anything to provide additional funding for education. Nothing. We are doing it.
And of course, and if it's my doing, I support it 100%. If that's what my tax dollars are going to, I can support it.
Absolutely.
Of course.
But let's not lose sight on the others. Well, a $360,000 federal grant that pays for Peabody County Sheriffs to take part in the high-intensity drug trafficking areas program has been put on hold until county supervisors feel conditions that were set. The board accepted funds for another federal grant that fights border crime have been met.
Of course, those conditions are, of course, centered around potential racial profiling. If there's bad policemen out there, that's, of course, the direction it's going to go. They just have to train these police officers the right way for this, and it could be great for everybody.
Well, again, when it comes to Peabody County, who is strapped for cash, stop playing politics. Look at the state of our roads. Look at the state of Peabody County, period. Just give them the federal grant money and allow them to do what officers are supposed to do, protect and serve. Stop the games, all right? Well, you've heard the phrase, oh, no, you didn't. Well, here at the 520, we're not afraid to tell it like it is with, oh, yes, we did. I'll get this started. I'm going to say it like it is. It makes me sick to my stomach talking about another black man shot and killed by police. In this latest police shooting, Sacramento police shot Stephan Clark 20 times. The officers waited 6 minutes, and during this time, they did not offer life-saving efforts. And then had the audacity to handcuff Clark's lifeless body. Police shot and killed Clark in the backyard of his grandfather's house. Officers in the area were responding to calls for someone breaking into cars in the neighborhood. Officers first justified the shooting, claiming Clark was armed. It turns out he was only armed with a cell phone. Think about this for a moment. So much for that argument that racial profiling does not exist. Now, let's compare how police reacted to a white terrorist named Dylan Roof. Roof went into a church and massacred 9 people, black people, who gathered around in a circle prayer. Police arrested Roof without firing a single shot, knowing he was armed and dangerous, and was accused of ruthlessly killing 9 innocent black people. While handcuffed, sitting in the backseat of the patrol car, officers took this accused mass murderer to Burger King because he said he was hungry. An accused murderer taken through the drive-thru at Burger King before even being booked into jail for mass murder? Again, think about this for a moment. But you choose to be angry about a handful of black NFL players who are kneeling during the national anthem to protest injustice towards the Stephan Clarks of the world? Wow.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve. That was so well said. I don't know how anybody with a heart can just sit back and watch this happen.
It's unbelievable. And it goes to show that this movement that Colin Kaepernick started by kneeling had nothing to do as far as a disrespect to the flag or the national anthem or what the United States of America and flag stands for. It has to do with injustice. And if people aren't mad about Stephan Clark getting shot and killed in the backyard of his grandfather's house, what do we come to?
What do we come to?
Angers me.
Of course. Thank you, Steve. But on a lighter note, let's go back to some sports. Amongst the start of spring football for the Wildcats, the obvious focal point seems to be, how is Khalil Tate getting better? How can the rest of the offense help Khalil Tate? How can Coach Mazzone help Khalil Tate? Here's one idea from me. How is Marcel Yates going to help Khalil Tate? We learned very quickly that Tate cannot take control in a fourth quarter, nor can he manufacture a comeback. So how is the defense that averaged 34 points a game, 321 offensive yards, 185 on the ground, 286 in the air? If we are trying to put Tate in the best position to win, how is one of the few retained coaching positions gonna fix being on the field for an average of more than 30 minutes a game? Mr. Yates, according to sportsreference.com, Arizona's strength of schedule was 76th in the land, and you managed to have 447 points scored on you last year. Go back and look at that film. DBs are getting beat, tackles are getting missed, 4-yard scampers are turning into 40-yard scores. That's just poor technique they aren't getting taught from you and your staff. In conclusion, all this focus on Khalil Tate needs to get reproportioned because Marcel Yates can be his biggest help this next year.
I'm excited about Khalil Tate, and you know what? I'm also excited about sending my Z scarf to Sister Jean, because when she blesses this, it's going to help the football program as well. Not just the basketball. It's love for the entire,
I don't think it helped anybody
Wildcat
this year.
Nation, baby.
It certainly didn't help your chance with the ladies this year. Let's not forget that one, huh?
Wow. Wow. All right.
He's got nothing to say now. He's got nothing to say.
Nah. Nah. Bottom line, our goal is to tell it like it is, because it's all about giving voice to opinions, even if you don't agree.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter at the 520 Tucson. And if you have a topic you want us to cover, let us know.
And I'm Steve Nunez.
I'm Artie Mata IV. Join us next week on the
is
dirtiest
back,
show
the scarf
in Tucson,
is back.
Arizona.
Oh, yeah,
Thanks
the
to
scarf
Steve.
is back. Woo!